But I'm guessing a lot of you guys would like to know what's happening with Romeo Lavia, right? And I've got a few takes on this, as I'm sure that you'll expect. So what has happened is Liverpool, according to David Ornstein and a couple of other sources, have opened with a £35 million bid with £2 million in add-ons, which was rejected by Southampton. Now, I can put your mind at ease a little bit because I do believe Liverpool are looking to go back in there with a second bid. But my question is this, and I think it's a fair question. If Lavia was the one all along, what are we doing? Why are we waiting this long? Why are we denying Jurgen Klopp more time in the training pitch with him? And why are we nickel and diming? Get it done. If you want a player, go get him. No messing about, no dawdling, no waiting weeks. He's clearly one who Klopp wants. Get it done and get it done quickly. That's my point on this. It's weird. It's weird that we've waited all summer for a player that we spoke about at the very start of the summer. And this isn't because Lavia hasn't been convinced. Read any article you want. It will tell you that personal terms with the player, not a problem whatsoever. So all we're doing right now, in my humble opinion, is sitting around and inviting Chelsea or Arsenal or somebody else to come in and try and gazump us. And Manchester City are looking at this situation as well. Because remember, he was a Manchester City player. They sold him to Southampton. And they have a buyback clause which kicks in next summer. But of course, they could also just match any offer that Liverpool put in. So I don't understand the thought process at our club. I really don't. If this was a player we hadn't spoken about before, or a situation like Barella, or we were waiting to see if somebody came onto the market, fair enough. But this has been consistent all summer. Lavia's price was set, what Southampton wanted, and Liverpool would have had their valuation. I don't for the life of me understand why the first bid is going in now on the 24th and 25th of July. It's mental. Craig ranted, and what was this one? And we went in. You were on it, Craig. Oh, so you know what? There's a joke in our Discord group about that, mate, as well, about when I do have a little bit of a rant, sometimes an offer goes in, but that was just purely coincidental, of course. So, Craig, Lavia is a £20 million player. If I was Liverpool, I'd walk away, said Vincent Heath. Do you know what, mate? It's a fair point. Like, £50 million, it's easy for us to just go £50 million, pay the £50 million. And you do have to have some value in it. But I feel like we've not done either. We've not overpaid, or we've not gone in early. We've just done the worst of everything and let the situation become more complicated. Let Southampton become more confident as the window goes by that there's going to be more clubs interested. And I don't know what we're hanging around for. Look to the very start of the transfer window. All of us, myself included, were speaking about Thuram, Lavia, Kone, and a few others. So we kind of had a fair idea where the targets were. Now, we were all thinking, if there's no offer gone in yet, maybe something's happening behind the scenes. Maybe the club are working on something that we aren't privy to. But no, apparently not. So what the hell have we been doing? That's the question that I have to everybody. What the hell have Liverpool Football Club been doing over the past 3-4 weeks? It's ridiculous. It's embarrassing. And it's intentionally making the situation worse. I don't understand it. I don't know what Liverpool's ceiling is for Romeo Lavia. But I do agree with anybody who thinks anything over 40, 45 million's overpaying. I'm with you on that. But if he's the one that Klopp wants, get it done. I've said one thing consistently throughout this transfer window and many other transfer windows. I want who Jurgen Klopp wants. Jurgen Klopp clearly made a play for Lavia. Jurgen Klopp was clearly instructed the recruitment team that Lavia is the one. So what are we doing? Why are we still sitting here talking about bids for a player that we could have bid for and been a lot further along in this process 4 or 5 weeks ago? It just streaks of stupidity. Relax, Craig, at least we put a bid in. No, I can't relax, Kareem, because I've seen this situation play out before, my friend, and it's embarrassing. It is just embarrassing. You say show some positivity. I'm all for positivity, but I'm very confused. So I haven't come on ranting tonight. I don't think I've raised my voice yet. But I do feel like it's a bit weird. Should have gone in a 50 million end of. Well, if we want them, Rob, we should have gone in with a number that we knew Southampton would take. So, you know, I would ever go in with a no. I'd never go straight in for the asking price in anything in life. Does nobody else think it's a bit odd that the player we've wanted since the start of the window, the first bid's only going in now when we're 2 weeks and 4 days or 2 weeks and 5 days away from the first game of the season with no DM? And it's not like the first game of the season is a nice handy one at home to, I don't know, pick a team that we usually beat. It's a difficult one away at Stamford Bridge against a team with a revitalised squad, a new manager, and probably a good bit of positivity around the club at the minute. So, yeah, I don't get it. I don't get why we've intentionally not given the manager the time of the training pitch so we can save, what, 3, 4, 5 million? Is that what we're at as a club? We're nickel and diming so much. I don't get it. Lavia won't get a shirt at City. Arsenal are totally stocked up. So I do agree with you, James, that if I'm Lavia, I'm thinking, well, City sold me once. They could have just loaned me out and brought me back. So I actually don't know what way to feel about the interest from Manchester City, because I don't know how serious it is about them wanting to come back to get him. But I don't understand, again, why Liverpool are hanging around. Craig, you're bang on, mate. Same thing every season, leaving everything till the last minute. But the weird thing is, Clooney man, we're constantly told how much Klopp wants them in early to work with him on the training ground, and how we've been planning for the transfer window for a really long time. But planning for the transfer window for a really long time doesn't lead into, yes, we got McAllister, that was being worked on. We were openly told that Szoboszlai, that deal was, when it presented itself as an opportunity, we moved quick. So that clearly wasn't in the long-term planning that we heard was happening. So what has the long-term planning been, is my question. How can you know that you need to rebuild this summer and approach it this slowly? It's very weird, because we always knew this wasn't going to be a summer where we're having to sell a load of players to buy a load of players. We weren't going to have to cash in on Mo. We weren't going to have to cash in on one of our centre-backs or anything like that. We knew that this was the buying summer, not really the selling summer. Now, yes, 100%, the stuff around Henderson and Fabinho could have come as a bit of a shock, particularly Jordan Henderson. But that still shouldn't change the plan. We all knew weeks ago. So I don't understand why we're not pushing ahead with it. Right, what's the counter offer? There is going to be a second offer, so that much I can tell you. I don't know what it's going to be. Truly, I don't. And I've always been honest about that with you guys. I don't know the numbers Liverpool are going to put forward, but there will be a second offer. You know, guesstimations, I think we go up to the 40 and then maybe try to add on 5 or 6. I don't know, in all honesty. Right, irrespective who we sign, going into season 3 weeks away with a 20-year-old central defensive midfielder who's yet to train is worrisome. We're also handicapped with budget, and that comes from Gokul, who is another long-term viewer of the channel, mate. So thank you so much, Gokul, for your super chat. And yeah, it doesn't make sense to me either. And is Lavia even 20 yet? I thought he was only turning 20 in the next week or two. But it's a risk in itself, so you'd probably want to counteract that with a second one. Look, I do think we move on this Lavia thing now, and I think we'll get it done, but I just don't understand why we waited so long. The real question we have to ask here is he actually worth £50 million? The answer has to be no. Like, we can talk about potential, and we can talk about it long term, but if we're talking about it on face value for what he's achieved in his career so far, he's not a £50 million footballer. He could very well become a £50 million footballer, but this is why the transfer market at the minute is so crazy. You used to pay for a player's experience. So if you were bringing somebody in 24, 25, 26, you would pay a premium for the experience. But now, as buying clubs, you're almost paying a premium for the experience, and then you're paying a premium for anything of a promising youth. So it's just getting more and more costly. Now, I'm not trying to defend the owners. I want them to get the finger out. But I still just can't get my head around the idea why Liverpool didn't go from the initial wanting the player to putting that bid in earlier and not allowing other clubs to potentially come into the mix. Because, as I said to you guys the other day, West Ham, now it looks like they're going to look for McTominay for maybe their DM, or maybe other clubs will come back in. Chelsea are still working away in Caicedo, but they're also keeping an eye on Lavia. Manchester City, as I mentioned, keeping an eye on Lavia. So the longer it drags on, the more other clubs who are missing out on their targets might look to go in as well. So I'd like to see Liverpool go in and get this deal done very quickly now. And I hope it happens that way. Would you say that Liverpool could get a deal done for Lavia at around 40, 45 million? Yeah, well, common sense would say yes, wouldn't it? Exotic Alpha, you know, the selling club 150. We've gone in with 35 plus 2 and add-ons, 37. You know, looking at it objectively, you'd say there's a deal to be done somewhere here. You know, we're not a million miles apart. It's not like Liverpool went in with 20 and Southampton 150. You know, we're in that range where you'd say it's possible. It's likely that we can find common ground. Now, there could be a little sweetener to be done here as well, and I'm only spitballing here. But, you know, a Tyler Morton in there as a replacement for Southampton, or a young Liverpool player to go in there, maybe Kwanzaa as an example. You know, maybe that'll be the difference, something like that. Fabinho staying ain't a bad thing. I don't think he does stay, in all honesty, Maddie. I think, you know, whether this gets resolved or whether he goes to Bayern, I do think he moves. I'm not against them staying, as you've said. If you brought in a Lavia and had a Fabinho, I'd feel a lot more comfortable because we'd still have that bit of experience going into the season. Like, even if we get an agreement for Lavia and we sign him tomorrow, let's say, I have questions of, is that enough for us to go into the season with, experience-wise?